Hi and good evening once again. Welcome back to Book Club Conversation Series 7. Within this series, we take a deep dive as we discover the power of words while we reflect on the writings of Cindy Trim in her book, Commanding Your Morning. For reminders and notification every time we go live, be sure to like and follow this page. I am Alina Lewis, author and success coach. And in this series, entrepreneurs and professionals, guys, we're looking at we're looking at self-care, we're looking at soul care. And we're going to be coming together, joining each other live in studio every Tuesday and Thursday until the first week in February. And of course, we're excited to have you, our book club partners, joining the conversation in the comment section below. So please take a moment to like this video, share the link, because I promise you the conversation is energetic, the conversation is reflective, introspective, inspirational, transformative, and all the other nice words you can think of in between. The conversation is awesome. So take a moment, share this video with someone. I'm sure you and your friend and your family and your colleague gonna benefit from it. Of course, not forgetting that Book Club Conversation Series 7 is supported through the sponsorship of Launchpad Consultancy. So let's take a moment to get a word from them, and then we welcome our panelists on. Hi and welcome everyone. We have Roll, we have Janine, we have Renma, and we have Chanel. And guys, I know y'all can't
Hi,
see
good
Chanel,
night.
but she's magical tonight. You can hear her voice, but she is here with us. And tonight we're talking about chapter 4. What have you put in the atmosphere? And you all know for series 7, the first thing I ask is, what was the awakening? Because that's how I felt when I started reading the book. And I feel that way every time I hit a new chapter, that I read and I take a deep breath and I close my eyes, and it's almost I'm being embraced by Cindy Trim's writings as I feel refreshed and encouraged. And I know I'm not the only one feeling that way. So, what was your moment of awakening as you got into chapter 4? Talk to me, guys and gals.
Well, I'll jump in then. Listen, good night, fellow panelists, Janelle, Renma, Chanel, and to our hostess of the mostess, Alina, and to all those listening in, always a pleasure to share. Cindy Trim didn't waste any time with this chapter. She didn't waste any time. It's like you get into the ring, and as soon as you jump into the ring, you get a blow. And right at the beginning, she started off with something that had my mind twirling. I wrote it down. She said, "Words released into the atmosphere do not disappear nor dissipate. They have no geological limitation." What is that? You understand? Imagine that's how she starts off. So it had you thinking. Of course, she used some powerful examples of how Joshua would have made mention about anyone trying to rebuild Jericho. You know, certain calamities will befall them, and many years after, we see the reality of that. So it meant that those words, even though it took a very long time to be realized, it remained. So I think for me, that was the what hit me almost immediately, and I started taking a stock of all my words, things that I would have said 5 years ago, 10 years ago, so many years ago, and I'm thinking, wow, I wonder if maybe I would have cancelled. Maybe if my words weren't all positive enough, I may have cancelled, but with some of the negative things I said along the way. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that stood out for me as really powerful and really caused me to want to delve some more, right? And I'm still delving. I'm still trying to really get all within that because I know that's power packed with all sort of powerful nuggets.
I also got that with that same example of Joshua and Jericho. That took 600 years to come to pass. 600 years. So it means it didn't falter, it didn't waver, it was there, building for 600 years. And I sometimes I'm a very patient person, but sometimes I lose patience and I want to say, oh gosh, why this ain't happening yet? Why that? They waited 600 years. I can wait, a little less time than that, but I can wait and see his things come, see his words and his promises come to pass. If I would just, as Rose said, stop putting those words, those negative thoughts, those negative feelings out in the air because it hangs over you. It's there with you. So if you don't want that around you, don't speak that. Don't speak that. Hold fast to his words. That's what I got from it.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was the same, that same thing as Raul and Janelle was saying, that those words stay there in the atmosphere. They don't go anywhere. They don't disappear. And, they wait until that time of fruition. And I was, just as they said, I was looking back at, oh my God, how many times have I canceled something? How much time have I put a delay on something? It made me think back to like, wow, look at what your negative thinking after all these years has brought you or has not brought you. So for me, it was the same experience.
Hi, for me, I would say this line has stand out to me the most. Words have power, presence, and prophetic implications. And I always say, my mommy always used to say, let go and let God, have that faith. And with whatever I say and whatever we do, try to keep on that positive pathway. At times, we will lose our faith and we will get discouraged, especially in these kind of timings when we have like COVID-19 hanging over everybody's head. Is sometimes we lose hope and we forget about that faith. So that is what I got immediately as I started to read, the time that we are in and how it impacts on how we think daily. That's my nugget for now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Usually, when we get into a chapter, everyone coming in studio would have a very different view of, the thing that stood out to them the most. And so it's so interesting to pay attention and realize, wow, the same piece of writing impacted all of us. So it makes me wonder in this moment, we are all in here professionals or entrepreneurs. How do you apply this to your professional life or your entrepreneurial journey? When you think about the line that says words released into the atmosphere do not disappear or dissipate, and we think about even all the goals that we want to have for ourselves and our growth in our careers and our businesses and so on. How, when you internalize it, how does it apply? Are there certain things you're mindful to say, not to say, certain ways you're now going to be mindful to communicate with your colleagues or not communicate with your colleagues in certain ways, as the case may be? What comes to your mind when you think about the power of words? And then we think about the business place, we think about our careers, our jobs, our businesses. Any insights y'all could share on that, even as y'all would have reflected on it?
Well, there was a paragraph that stood out to me where she said they read their Bibles as lawyers would when studying to prepare for a case. And they put more faith in God keeping his word than they did in any earthly laws or political promises. So, yes, you may have all the knowledge, the know how, you have studied, you know how to do this. But without God and his word, ain't nothing going to come to pass. Nothing. So you have to build, even though you have the earthly knowledge and the laws and all of that, you have to stand on his faith. You have to stand on his promises. So you do that with your business as well. Yes, you know your business inside out. You know how to run it, but every day put your faith in him. to guide you for that day, to guide you where business is concerned, to make the right decisions, to say the right things, to talk to the right people in the right way, to make it successful. You have to have him as your foundation. That's what I took from that as well.
Well, for me, when I reflect on it, it made me think about when she was talking how, the children of Israel, they went to, the 12 spies went to spy out the land, and 10 came back with a negative report and 2 came back with positive. And, they decided, no, they're not going to go up. And then they changed their mind. And they was like, okay, God, we're going to go. And God was like, no, don't go. I am not going to go with you. And it, even though his word said that you would inherit the land, when they disobeyed, it made the current generation miss out. And so it made me reflect back to how many times have I spoken things, I have caused things to be delayed. And then when I try to do it on my own timing, it didn't work out. And then you're like, oh gosh, why? So I know for me, I have to look back at all the things, all the thoughts, all the words, all the promises, all the ideas that I had received before, and then ask God, okay, is this totally dead? Is this something I have to wait on? How can I be better? How can I prepare myself? How can I train myself? How can I study to show myself approved? So for me, when I was reflecting back, that is what stood out to me.
For me, when I think of business and think about a work environment, I deal with customer service more so, and that greet and that meet, and every single word that you say to the client or the customer that comes in, is it if it's not something that is pleasant or pleasing in a sense, you can always turn away. So our words have to be careful. Sometimes just a simple thing as thank you and how are you today matters to somebody, because you do not know what they're coming in with, what kind of issues or situation that they have. But it could seriously make a great impact on their lives by me saying thank you, and we receive you and we're welcome to the family, and they are pleased and they are happy. So in that way, where it comes to business and so forth, it's it helps in what we say and what we do.
Yes, for me, I believe what is very applicable, and what I've learned to do when it comes to the workplace has to do with combining intentionality with the spoken word. You know, speaking that word and combining that with the whole idea of intentionality. Because I can speak a positive word over myself and say, hey, yes, I want to be successful. But when you can be intentional, more intentional about it, and say what kind of success, when you want to see the success, how you want to see the success, what you want to drive, where you want to live, what family you want to have, what you want to see in your business, what kind of success, and be able to quantify it. I think that has helped, and that really mushroom into an idea called affirmations. And I'll tell you all something. Some time ago I spoke with a young lady called Alina, and Alina encouraged me to take up this whole idea of affirmations. And what we did for persons in the world of work was to start your day off with positive affirmations. And these were actually voiced by Alina herself. And you wouldn't believe, we pressed go, and Alina just put out affirmations for 3 months worth of affirmations out of her soul. It was just amazing. And that really spoke to me about how she was ingrained with that whole idea of positive thinking and positive words was ingrained in her. So it helped me, it helped my clients, and all of those who were part of that particular session.
Chanel, any thoughts? Chanel may have had to step away for a moment. But guys, we're diving deep in our conversation. And one of the things I want to challenge us to do in this moment, because I'm imagining for someone who has not been exposed to the whole idea of thoughts and words and affirmations, they may feel a little lost. Like, but what you see, or what's an example? How to use it? What is there to think to pull together? Whether reflecting something positive for your personal life or your entrepreneurial journey, your professional development. So here's what I want to do. I want to put in a shameless plug concerning affirmations. And when we come back, I want all of us to give an example of how we could be intentional to use our words to create affirmations that would command our morning. So we're going to take a minute to take a look at an encouragement concerning affirmations. So when we come back, we're going to take a dive into that.
Hello, I'm Roel Rollups, founder and lead business coach at VisionWorks. And today I would like to introduce you to morning affirmations at VisionWorks. We are proud and excited to bring to you a technique utilized by many top performers in just about every field of endeavor. So what is an affirmation? An affirmation is an oral or written statement confirming something to be true even when you don't feel like it. VisionWorks affirmations are simple, positive statements declaring specific goals or outcomes for your day. These empowering declarations can have profound effect on the conscious and subconscious mind. So why affirmations? Positive affirmations can help you create positive emotions, which can improve your mental, emotional, and physical health. The awareness that affirmations produce makes you more likely to challenge negative or defeating thoughts as they arise. Research on affirmations indicates that they can boost your problem solving and decision making skills, help you to perform better under pressure, help you to focus on abundance rather than lack, and develop an attitude of gratitude. So how do you make the best of VisionWorks morning affirmations? First, find a place free of distraction. Secondly, remain calm. Smile if it feels natural to you. Say your affirmations slowly and clearly. That's number 3. Fourthly, repeat the affirmations at least 3 times, really focusing on the meaning of each word. We are convinced that these affirmations, when added to your daily routine, will empower you for greater impact. So look out for more of our promos and subscribe, and you will receive our podcast once a week that you can repeat daily to set your day on the right path. See you on the inside.
And of course, I have to remind, if you want to follow, you can follow Roll's work. He's an impact strategist. Go to Facebook and just look up Vision Work Solutions. It's on the screen, Vision Work Solutions. And I'm sure when you scroll, you're going to see the first series of those affirmations. You could be encouraged, and it might just help you out in both your personal life and your professional journey as you command your morning. So, panelists, people on screen with me, talk to me. What is an example of an affirmation, or how you convert thoughts into words to be able to make impact in your space? And of course, I want to acknowledge our book club partners who are looking on live right now. We want you to get in the comment section as well, and be sure to share with us what is an example of an affirmation that you use to encourage yourself and speak into your atmosphere, even as chapter 4 encourages us to do. So I'm leaving it open, guys.
Well, for me, the affirmation I use the most is I am enough. Because I know what it's like where everybody makes you feel, everybody tells you directly and indirectly that you're not enough, you're not good enough, something wrong with you. Maybe if you do this, you need to change. Maybe if you do that. And so I had to come to a place and just accept me as I am, even in the mess. Forgive me for putting myself in the mess most of the times. Let it go and tell myself I am enough. It doesn't mean I need to stop here. I need to keep growing. I need to keep pressing. I need to be better than how I was yesterday. But for right now, in this moment, I am enough. When God created heaven and earth, He said it is good. And everything He created is good. And if He created me, I am good. So I am enough.
I like that. For me, it's something my father says, and I kind of tweak it a bit. Daddy always says, your first instinct is the correct instinct, is the right choice. So I need to try. For me, when I make an affirmation, if something is going on, I need to say, trust yourself more. Trust yourself. You have it within you. Trust yourself. And sometimes when things are going haywire, I need to do as Renma said before, let go and let God and trust yourself. He guides you. He guides you. Learn to sit down, sometimes sit back, take a breath, close your eyes, trust yourself, and go from there.
Well done, well done. For me, one more that I apply more to work has to do with, um, the fact that work can be challenging. Every week we go out, especially when you have to look for business. I always talk about if come rather than income when you're when you're doing your own business. And for me, it would be, I affirm my God-given talent and my ability to meet and exceed the needs of my clients, and in so doing, meet and exceed my own personal needs and those of my family.
That's
I like
when I think about it, and I've held on to this for a while now, that I remind myself and I affirm to myself that everything I need is on the inside of me. And, that belief comes from, the whole idea that, um, God's plan and purposes towards us were established before the foundations of the earth. And I heard a teaching years ago that says everything we need, we're born with it. It's like in seed form. That's how I interpreted it. It's in seed form. It was there. How many times we go through a situation and we give a response or we handle it, and then when we sit and reflect, we say, I didn't know I could do that. Or I didn't know I understood. I didn't know I had the capacity. So many times we go through things, and when we come out victorious in the end. When we look back, we realize, wow, I didn't even realize I had grown, or I had that ability, or I had that consciousness. But when you think about it, it was there all the time. It's just that it took maybe a particular circumstance to bring it out of you. Nobody didn't take it and put it in. It was brought out, it was in you. And so based on that, I move through with the understanding, at least I choose to accept, that everything that I need is on the inside of me. So that way, when I come across challenging situations, whether I'm doing a project for me, I'm doing work for a client, or even in my personal life, and I feel like I've hit a brick wall, I don't ever feel defeated. I don't ever feel defeated, because in that moment I remind myself everything that I need is on the inside, and I take a pause and I go into a space of reflection, because I'm like, okay, I need whatever is on the inside. I need a solution that is already on the inside of me now to come out. So when I activate it, I could solve this problem. I could deal with the situation. It doesn't mean I'm an island, but it means I believe that I have the capacity. And because I have the capacity, I will always be an overcomer in every situation. Chanel, any affirmations to share with us?
Yes, I do. So my one is a bit of a prayer that I recently started. Both my husband and I, for this year, our resolution was to drop the negative. We are only in taking positive things. So I start my morning of recent times saying, "Today is God's day. It is a glorious day for me. I am full of peace, harmony, and joy. My faith is in the goodness of God, in the guidance of God, and in the love of God. I am absolutely convinced that my deeper mind receives impressions of my present thoughts, and I am irresistibly attracting into my experience of all good things my heart desires." So that is my way of starting my morning and welcoming, because as a mommy, as a person that, as a career woman, as a wife, day-to-day challenges never cease to stop. And by keeping that positive mindset and keeping that, letting it out into the atmosphere, I'm able to overcome and deal with whatever situation comes my way with ease and not losing and, getting overwhelmed, because that was my favorite thing, to get overwhelmed. So I no longer am overwhelmed. I take a deep breath and just let it let it go.
Listen, I was just taking a note of what the time is so I could go back into this video and look for what Chanel just said so I could transcribe it. Because
I'll send you a copy though.
thank you. Yeah, save me the work. Thank you. Because I'll be honest, I got stuck on when she said today is God's day. And it reminded me of just a whole lot that my apostles talk about all the time, where we acknowledge God in terms of the director of. Because can you imagine if you woke up every day thinking today is God's day? Then it suggests it doesn't matter what happens in this day. If today is God's day, it means He'll work it out, or He'll provide what you need to work it out, or He'll give you the grace that you need to withstand it that you have to go through because today is God's day. Listen, I guarantee you, before February hits, when Chanel sends me that is going to be a poster on a wall in my house somewhere. Today is God's day. Thank you for sharing that, Chanel. That really resonated with me. Today is God's day. But guys, we have to get into our power quote. What is your power quote from chapter 4?
Mine was the very last line of the chapter. Let us hold fast the confessions of our hope without wavering, for He who provided is faithful. And that is something I always have to keep at the back of my mind. It has to be unwavering. You have to trust Him. You have to fully trust Him to know that He has you in the palm of His hand. He's not going to let you fall. Even if you do trip, you always have somebody to hold you and drag you up. He's there. He's there to support you. Lean on Him. And, He will take you where you need to go because He already knows where you're supposed to be. So He just lean on Him and He'll take you where you need to go. So that last line of the chapter was my power quote.
Yeah, leading up to that line, Cindy Trim talked about filling your atmosphere with promises that matter. And, I really resonated with that in terms of really reminding myself of the importance of speaking the things that matter, and why did it stand out to me? Because I feel like so many times we fill our hearts in our silent places with all of the great desires, but we don't always speak it out. There is a fear, like if we talk it, we speak into the atmosphere, the bird will come and snatch it. And so we don't want to say it, we're afraid to quote unquote jinx it, But the reality is, the principle says, no, the bird not going to come and snatch it away. You need to speak it in order to establish it. So when she wrote about speaking into the atmosphere promises that matter, really what it did is that it reminded me of the importance of speaking, not being afraid. The bird not going to come and steal it. Don't be afraid to speak out the things that matter, the things that you're looking forward to. Be bold in it. So when you put it into the atmosphere, just like earlier in the chapter, I talked about it returning and it fulfilling in due time, it will fulfill in due time. So that definitely is mine.
I guess for me, there's a part in the book where Cindy Trim spoke to when you read the Word of God, you have to take the Word of God personally, and some of that resonated with me particularly because in recent conversation I was talking to someone who saw God as a God somewhere out there, but not a personal God, and when you sit down and reflect that God thinks about you, whatever you can fill in your name, He thinks about role. In other words, when He thought about the earth, when He thought about saving man's salvation, He thought about role, and He came and He died that I might have life and have it more abundantly. I mean, it's such an awesome thing. And sometimes we could think because we're not seeing certain things in our life that God is really concerned about me in particular. But there's so much in the Word that speaks to it. The Word talks about Christ being touched with the feeling of our infirmities. So He knows, He understands, He feels our pain. And that resonates with me, because that's a God that I can relate with, a God that I can connect with, and a God that helps make the difference when I speak my words, because I know His words are true and His words have me in it. You understand? So it helps sometimes to just know that this is not just about Israel or Joshua or Jacob or Israel or sometime in the past. God is speaking and referencing me in the word and in the scripture. So that jumped out at me.
Yeah. For me, my power quote was speak life into your dead areas. That made me just think about all the times where it seemed like it's not going to work out, or it seemed like it's not for me, and maybe it's not God's will. But did He tell me it's not my will? Did He say I couldn't have, I couldn't do, I couldn't become? And so, it just encouraged me as we go through Cindy Trim's book and talk about the importance of words and your belief and how all these things affect you one after the other. And I was like, what, I need to start speaking. And even as Alina said, sometimes you have this desire, but you're afraid to speak it, you're afraid to put it out there because honestly, that's how I used to feel like, oh gosh, if I say it, it could jinx. If I say it, somebody could come and tell me I can't do it. But no, I need to speak life into these dead areas, these areas that I want to see grow and bloom and blossom. I am the one that's keeping it in that desert state. I need to speak it.
For me, the lines that stood out to me are they are suspended and incubated in the realms of the spirit, awaiting the correct time and optimum conditions for manifestation. And it lies with me having patience, letting him do what he has to do in his timing is not my timing. I always say I'm the main character in my biography that he's writing for me. So to allow him to continue to do his work and just act out my part, the roles that he provides and he gives to me. So that's my nuggets.
Say that again, Janelle. I feel we need to write that one, Alina. You are what in the biography? What?
I am the main character in the biography that he's writing for me.
Oh, wow. Wow. Powerful, 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 powerful.
Oh, I
Powerful.
tell you, this has been a deep one, a deep one. I think every night there's so much to reflect on, but every night that we come on and we really share, it is so encouraging because there's so much, as Janine calls it, nuggets that we are able to tap into and really take and reflect and internalize. So, guys, even as we wind down, closing thoughts as you think about atmosphere, and I want to ask you to please include this in your closing thought. When you think about the idea of atmosphere, and she started the chapter talking about what are you putting into your atmosphere, what comes to mind, and what do you think people should leave with as they continue to craft their 2022? Because of course, as we know, January is the month a lot of people still doing their vision boards, vision planning, yearly planning, all of that. Some people are in advance and they get it done late 2021, but I know a lot of people are still figuring things out, especially with the pandemic. Things are so much more fluid than it usually is. So as we think about atmosphere, as we think about self development as a part of personal, professional, entrepreneurial development, what should people understand about atmosphere and what should they take moving forward as they craft their 2022?
Well, I guess I can jump in. Yes. What jumped out at me was the whole idea of, well, I mean, this has been repeated several times in this session and past sessions, this whole idea of creating your environment. And the analogy that came to me was the analogy of a garden, like you have a gardener and they have to tend to their crops and to their plants, and in a way that skillfulness of how you tend to the garden is what you do with the words. So the tools that you use are the words, and some words are useful to build a foundation. When you want to strengthen yourself, some words are used like fertilizer. Some words are used like to water, to give sunlight, to give oxygen. Some words help you to kind of till the soil. Sometimes, the soil gets barren and things can get stale with you, and you need that kind of rejuvenation. all these are different words that you can use to help create that environment that you need to to succeed and be successful. So how you use these words, when you use these words, you know, it helped me to paint that picture to me of a garden that I'm cultivating, and I need to cultivate this garden in which I will flourish, I will blossom, and I'll be able to be at my best. So that is what came to me when I thought about the whole idea of atmosphere and creating that space and creating that environment. You're mute, Alina.
So sorry. When I was thinking about it, my mind went to chapter one, where Sinitrim reminded us that the things that we see come from the things that we don't see. You know, the seen is produced from the unseen. And because there is that understanding, the idea of atmosphere becomes really important. Because if it is, we are to choose to accept that that which we see or the things that we see manifest come from the things we are not seeing, it means we want to use our words to penetrate our atmosphere, our environment, the unseen spaces around us, the energies around us. I know some people connect to the word energies. We want to penetrate the energies that are around us with our words so that when we shape our environment, our unseen environment, it causes the environment to produce the results that we want in our physical seen environment. And that's really what comes to mind, and why the idea of commanding your morning and crafting your atmosphere becomes so important, at least in my mind, you know?
Well, with me, when I was reading chapter 4, this memory came back to me when she was talking about the atmosphere and how we influence the atmosphere. I remember standing in the bank, and I mean, the line was moving. The length of the line didn't change, but people were getting service. So if two people left, two people joined the line. And I'm like about halfway through, and a woman came in and joined the line. And literally a minute later, she started complaining. And I could have felt that complaining spread like a fog. You know, when you watch those movies and you see it slowly spread, and all of a sudden everybody started to complain. All the time, everybody quiet on the phone or doing something, and all of a sudden everybody started to complain. They started to fidget. They started to push. They started to murmur. You could even see the tellers start to pick up on the energy, and they start to get a little jittery. And I'm just standing there and I'm like, oh my God, look how this one person changed this whole atmosphere in this bank. And that made me realize that, you know, your atmosphere goes with you. Because she came in probably in a negative state, whether it was for the day or that's just where she always is dwell. But that made me realize that, you know what, not only does it affect me, but it affects my home, it affects when I go out, it affects when I move around. So I really need to be careful about how I set my atmosphere, that space, that energy. As in Trinidad we say, you know, I like your vibe, just as something about you. So it's that personal atmosphere you set, and depending on how strong it is, depending on how wide those boundaries can go, depending on the words you speak. Maybe she got up and she told herself, she spoke it in the atmosphere, the bank will be long, you have plenty lines, and now it was manifested. So for me, that really, really stood out to me.
O- Okay, for me, I don't know why when I was reading the chapter, I kept hearing Yolanda Adams, the battle is not yours, it's the Lord. I don't know why, but the entire while I'm reading, it's in the back of my mind. I was like, listen, ma'am, focus on the chapter for me, please. But I kept hearing it. I kept hearing it, and I was like, okay, that has to be a message somewhere. You know, you're going through what you're going through, but remember, He is more powerful than anything or any situation that you're going through. Let him, sometimes you just need to sit back and let him fight your battles for you. Just sit back, do what you need to do, put your trust in him and let him fight the battles, let him clear the way, and let him show you the way after he clear it. So to me, that is what I took away. Not took away from each chapter, but it's what resonated with me. I don't know if it was when I was reading when Joshua was speaking about the walls of Jericho, and I'm like, listen, the was it I can't remember I can't remember it was that or when he just said, just said, but before they just started to sing, and before they even get on the battlefield, it was won. Let him fight for it. All you have to do is sit back and sing. And sometimes, well, only I could talk, but sometimes I just need to just sit back, put on some music, sing, and let him fight that battle for me. Fight it.
For me, it's just a little caution rather than a statement where we have to be cautious of what we say and what we put out into the atmosphere through our words, because our words, we cannot erase it. Once it's out there, it's out there. We could pray about it afterwards and ask for repentance, and we could ask, but when we put it out there, it could affect family life, it could affect children, and it will stay. It stains somebody's mind literally when you put something negative. It might be like, something as simple, and you mightn't even take it as a serious comment, but to somebody else, it really mattered. And so we have to be very cautious and very careful of what we say and how we say it. And, just be positive as always and keep that positivity and let God handle and everything everybody else just said, I sending it back out because all the words were resonating in me. So thank you.
Oh, guys, I continue to be so appreciative for these conversations because it really does bring to light the importance of that self care I keep talking about, the importance of recognizing our foundation, what drives us, being intentional. Because as much as upskilling is important and strategies for adjusting to the pandemic is important, we need to understand how we can make our internal adjustment. I remember attending a leadership conference years ago, and the facilitator said, never let the external, oh my gosh, let it come back to me. Never let the weight of the external greatness outweigh the internal foundation you're crafting to carry it. And of course, I'm sure I'm not saying that word for word, but the explanation was we want great things, we want to accomplish so much. But what are we doing to make sure we are ready to handle the weight that comes along, the responsibility that comes along, the everything that comes with carrying greatness? Greatness is not easy, but we all want it. And so I'm loving Book Club Conversation Series 7 because it really helps us to get in that introspective space, to understand how we could develop our own sense of self, our soul being, our mind, our intentionality to carry and handle the greatness that we are preparing for in 2022. So those who are on the panel, thank you for joining me, our Book Club partners, in the
I
comment
have a
section.
request, Alina.
What is that, Janine?
When Chanel sends you that chapter, you send me that quote you just had there.
Which one of them?
Because I know about the greatness and the external.
Yeah,
I can't say when I need it. Yes,
No,
I need that.
it was a reality check. How often do we want the
Yeah.
greatness and the benefit and the all the wonderful things that we want to have personally and professionally, but are we doing what it takes to prepare ourselves to handle? It's like the analogy they gave with the light. How many people want to be in the spotlight? But with light comes heat. Are you ready to take the heat that comes with the spotlight? It's the same, it's very similar. So I'm really appreciative. Thank you guys for joining me, Book Club partners who join us live. Thank you for joining us live. And please do like and share the video because we want that the same way we are encouraged and transformed by the conversations that take place, we want others to be able to have their own experience as they listen to the convo. So guys, we're going to be returning with chapter 5 on Tuesday, on next Tuesday. So until then, take care, stay safe, and continue reading Commanding Your Morning by Cindy Trim. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye. Good night.